Yes, sir. Just getting the room ready for my man Legend, who's being interviewed tonight. And in the meantime, until he logs in, I'm just gonna have some fun. Greatest what I'm gon' be. 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 Ain't no way you stopping me. Greatest what I'm gon' be. 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 Ain't no way you stopping me. Ain't no way you stopping me. You get no apologies. No apologies. When they ask me will I quit, the answer is I tell them never that. 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 Greatest what I'm gon' be. 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 Ain't no way you stopping me. Ain't no way you stopping me. You get no apologies. No apologies. When they ask me will I quit, the answer is I tell them never that. 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 Yeah, I tell them never that. Never that. Never that. Never that. Never that. It'll be ideal for you to go and see me fall. See me go and hit the ground. Give up and lose faith, but just with my race. I know to be worth your while. But that's not the question. I know I was destined. I'm destined to be something great. Fake love, get it out of my face. Even the end, they dealt with the snakes, but I ain't with it. No, I ain't with it. You can go and forget it. I'm grinding all day, guess always. I'm here to give you the business. Don't need your okay to be okay. That's Kobe, get okay. Y'all want me to go Kobe. That's so wet, that's so lame. Ideal for you to go and see me fall. See me go and hit the ground. Give up and lose faith, but just with my race. I know to be worth your while. But that's not the question. I know I was destined. I'm destined to be something great. Fake love, get it out of my face. Even the end, they dealt with the snakes, but I ain't. Greatest what I'm gon' be. 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 Ain't no way you stopping me. Hell for you to go and see me fall. See me go and hit the ground. Give up and lose faith, but just quit my race. I know to be worth your while. But that's not the question. I know I was destined. I'm destined to be something great. Fake love, get it out of my face. Even the end, they dealt with the snakes, but I ain't with it. No, I ain't with it. You can go and forget it. I'm grinding all day, guess always. I'm here to give you the business. Don't need your okay to be okay. That's Kobe, get okay. Y'all want me to go Kobe. That's so wet, that's so lame. Why you never wanna seek his window? Wanna see me take it out, that's why your wins low. Why you never wanna seek his window? Wanna see me take it out, that's why your wins low. Just out here, why you never wanna seek his window? Why you never wanna seek his window? Wanna see why you never wanna seek his window? Wanna see me take it out, that's why your wins low. Greatest what I'm gon' be. 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 Ain't no way you stopping me. Never that. Never that. Never that. Never that. Never that. Yeah, I tell them never that. Never that. Never that. Never that. Never that. It'll be ideal for you to go and see me fall. See me go and hit the ground. Give up and lose faith, but just quit my race. I know to be worth your while. But that's not the question. I know I was destined. I'm destined to be something great. Fake love, get it out of my face. Even the end, they dealt with the snakes, but I ain't with it. No, I ain't with it. You can go and forget it. I'm grinding all day, guess always. I'm here to give you the business. Don't need your okay to be okay. That's Kobe, get okay. Y'all want me to go Kobe. That's so wet, that's so lame. Why you never wanna seek his window? Wanna see me take it out, that's why your wins low. Just out here, why you never wanna seek his window? Wanna see me take it out, that's why your wins low. Why you never wanna seek his window? Wanna see why you never wanna seek his window? Wanna see me take it out, that's why your wins low. Just out here grinding life familiar, be my kinfolk. You know what we here for, never change the tempo. On my Dr. Red, ain't no way you stop this driving me. Got the whole squad finna ride, will be no ifs, fans. I'm apologies to all the losers here, but losers forever. Ain't nothing such a favorite, that's the boy that ain't nothing. Ain't the way you gon' change momentum. Everything I do before the game, I'm hot. Greatest one I'm gon' be.
Greatest one I'm gonna be.
Ain't no way you stopping me.
Ain't no way you stopping me.
You get no apology.
No apology.
When they ask me will I quit, the answer is I tell them never that. 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 Yeah, I tell them never that. 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 Yeah, I tell them never that. Never that. Never that. Never that. Never that.
Never that. You think I'ma quit? No, never that. I'ma keep on pushing for the holy mission. Got the drive, gotta carry that. Reggie Bush when I run it back. You say bold when I hit the track. Got a W, that's for a fact. Cause the last should be first in this habitat. Yeah, gotta be shine like a light bulb. Yeah, Lucia, she want me on tightrope. I move away like lipo. Songs I be crapping, be killing this life though. God got 10 on no typo. This a dark world, got like though. Got like though. Yeah, got like though. What you go to icon living? God got a season in the kitchen. Married to the wheel, Jenny Pickett. We roll with the punches like passion and listen. We mix with the mission like fission. The work and the vision. The team got the vision. The word is the goal. And we gonna cleanse it with water dripping. Fact and face and faith and vision. We gonna get it.
Greatest what I'm gon' be.
Greatest what I'm gonna be.
Ain't no way you stopping me.
Ain't no way you stopping me.
You get no apology.
No apology.
When they ask me will I quit, the answer is I tell them never that. Never that. Never that. Never that. Never that. Yeah, I tell them never that. Never that. Never that. Never that. Never that.
So that one right there was by Legend, and that one is featuring Chalice. It's called Never That. I'm gonna get into his new single right now. The new single is called Neva Seen It. So we getting ready to run that one.
First and foremost, got me for me, and then you know the verdict. Never forfeit, only W's like Wheel of Fortune. Haters lucky and never worry, but we tread on surface. While you praying on the devil, but we get here working. Only trophies, only rings, feeling regal, bloody trip. Tarantino, absolute, no casino. I'm just living out the blessings. That's that man that ain't that vino. Choose that hope, give them freedom, bring that fire to my people. We get the win, we get the play, we get the win, we get the win, we get the win, we get the play, we get the win, we get the play, we get the play. First and foremost, got me for me, and then you know the purpose. Like a forfeit, only W's like Wheel of Fortune. Always lucky and never worry, but we tread on surface. While you praying on the devil, but we get here working. Only trophies, only rings, feeling regal, bloody true. Only trophies, only rings, feeling regal, bloody true. Only trophies, only rings, feeling regal, bloody trip. Tarantino, absolute, no casino. Only trophies, only rings, feeling regal, bloody true. Only trophies, only rings, feeling regal, bloody true. Only trophies, only rings, feeling regal, bloody trip. Tarantino, absolute. Only trophies, only rings, feeling regal, bloody true. Only trophies, only rings, feeling regal, bloody true. Only trophies, only rings, feeling regal, bloody trip. Tarantino, absolute, no casino. I'm just living out the blessings. That's that man that ain't that vino. Choose that hope, give them freedom, bring that fire to my people. Never fail, never take an L, never feeling jaded, I just follow at the well. No God and your kin, that's how you keep it trail. Never feeling anxious, I just look towards the hills, yeah. Whoa, never lose a step, watch me walk on water, go and watch the drip. Whoa, never lose a step, only walk by faith, and he ain't felt me yet. I never seen it, yeah. Never seen it, boy, I never seen it, yeah. Never seen it, boy, I never seen it, yeah. Never seen it, boy, I never seen it, yeah. Never seen it, boy, I never seen it, yeah. Never seen it, boy, I never seen it, yeah. Never seen it, boy, I never seen it, yeah. Never seen it, boy, I never seen it, yeah. been a victor, I ain't been a winner since the summer 92. Since the womb of the Jews, take a loss, I refuse. Enjoy the splendor, don't surrender on the grind, got work to do. Run with monsters, run with wolves, you don't show up, be the move. I got a block to read, I got a block to read, ain't no stopping me, I got God in me, why they hate the kid, got shot down on me, ain't no blocking me, I'm where I'm supposed to be, check the stats, never take an L, it's just never that, never let, only shoot you straight, only give you facts, but they cap, some just run their mouth, we just run the track, bring it back, my shot evergreen, ain't no missing that, in my bag, whoa, never lose a step, watch me water, go and watch the drip, yeah, whoa, never lose a step, only walk my face, and he ain't only trophies on the ring, feeling regal, bloody drip, Tarantino, absolute, no casino, I'm just living out the blessings, that's that man, I ain't that vino, choose that hope, give them freedom, bring that fire to my people, only trophies on the ring, feeling regal, only trophies on the ring, only trophies on the ring, feeling regal, bloody drip, only trophies on the ring. Only trophies on the ring, feeling regal, bloody drip, Tarantino, absolute, no casino, I'm just living out the blessings, that's that man, I ain't that vino, choose that hope, give them freedom, bring that fire to my people, never fail, never take an L, never feeling jaded, I just follow at the well, no God ain't no kin, that's how you keep a trail, never feeling anxious, I just look towards the hills, yeah, whoa, never lose a step, whoa. Never lose a step, whoa. Never lose a step, watch me, whoa. Never lose a step, whoa. Never lose a step, only one, whoa. Never lose a step, watch me, whoa. Never lose a step, watch me, whoa. Never lose a step, watch me.
So we get ready to invite my man Legend, and it looks like he is in the building. So I just gotta add him to the stream so we can check him out. How you doing, sir? Looks like he dipped for a second. So let's play some music until he gets his connection back up and live.
Walk on water, go and watch the drip. Never lose a step, only walk my face, and he ain't felt me. Never lose a step. Never lose a step. Never lose a step. Watch me walk on water. Go and watch the drip. Never lose a step. Only walk my face, and he ain't. Never lose a step. Watch me. Never lose a step. Watch me. Never lose a step. Watch me walk on water. Go and watch the drip. Never lose a step. Only walk my face, and he ain't felt me yet. I never.
All right. So let's check and see. I know it's a temperamental little system there. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Blessed, man. Good to see you, bro.
Listen, man, it's good. I'm good. Chilling.
That's dope.
I heard you cutting over there. You know what I mean?
A little bit. Just a little bit. This is a Friday. Was this like Friday evening type cuts? You do a little jigger, and then you get out of it. That's what's up, man. So, how you been, man? Everything's well?
Yeah, man. Everything's well, man. I'm still here. Yeah, living and breathing. So, yeah,
that's right. I see you.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
that's dope.
Yeah.
So this is a opportunity, man. We get a chance to do an artist to artist with you, man. Check in on you, see how everything is, and go from there. So for those who don't know you, you are a Christian hip hop artist who's been around for multiple years.
Yeah.
And so what would you like to introduce to people for some of those who are going to get a chance to check you out? You know, let them know about your ministry.
For sure. So I go by the name Legend. It's not because I think I'm the world's greatest rapper or, you know what I mean, whatever, but it's more so it's more so everything I try to do was legendary because Jesus did nothing mediocre. and that's really, I guess, the point A of why I
Yeah,
call myself a legend. But I think also too, like, legends are also stories, and that's another
that's
word,
true.
for hip hop. And then on top of that, like the map, the little thing at the end, is called a legend. And
Hmm.
my whole goal is, man, I'm trying to point you to Jesus, man, and everything that I do. So like that's the whole, I guess, synopsis of who, yeah, I mean, who I am as an artist, who I am as a person.
That's dope.
Yeah, man, North Philly raised, North Philly, but Philly, born in Philly, Sixers fan, Eagles fan, Flyers fan, Philly all the
Wow.
way. Yeah, I mean, but yeah.
That's a lot of tough going through the year. There's a lot of tough. At least the Sixers looking good.
Yeah, man.
As long as they can get past the Nets,
Yeah, all right. Hopefully, prayerfully, that's my prayer. You know what I mean? But
right?
the KD and James and Kyrie looking a little strong. So hopefully,
It's a little stack.
yeah, hopefully Joel will stay healthy in Jesus' name. You know what
Yeah,
I
you
mean?
said in Jesus' name. You add Jesus on top of Joel. There you
All
go.
right.
That's dope. So how long you been doing music, man?
Oh, I've been doing music for, it's cliche to say as long as you can remember,
Yeah.
but that's honest. I would say, man, music has always been something that I felt like I can do just naturally. So I would say probably uh maybe like 6, 7, maybe like,
Wow.
6 or 7, between like just falling in love with instruments. My first instrument that I loved was the drums, just like, a kid, bam,
Yeah.
bam, whatever. But I actually really wanted to play and learn how to play. Then I dove a little bit into piano and other instruments. I just love music because music is a universal language. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Where, I cannot speak Japanese and go to Japan and we put on a song and it'll
Play
connect.
music, right?
Right. So it's just a powerful element or a powerful tool. And if I can use that tool to point people to Jesus, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you know what I'm saying? So that's, I've always felt like music has always been something where I can kind of, where it's just been my lane, you know what I mean? And where
That's
God has
right.
put me. Yeah. So I'll
That's
say
dope.
it, I can remember. Yep.
So you started out with the instruments. How did you start using your vocals as an instrument? When did that transition happen? Because it's true. Most of us who do music, some affinity or some affection we had towards it at a young age.
Hmm.
And we knew something was about it. Like for me, I would say I used to have a record player and I used to get all the records. And I had my own thing going on. So I'd be playing whatever they let me play.
Right, right,
And
right.
but that was my affection towards music in the early stages. So how did you get to that transition?
I think for me, I kind of like, the crazy part is the transition was it kind of always was a thing. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of like, okay, use all these elements at the same time.
Hmm.
God has blessed me with a ability to be versatile.
Okay.
Um, so I was kind of playing drums, and then I was playing piano, but at the same time I was always writing. I was writing either poetry, I was writing, writing rhymes. I think a guy who really influenced me early, and we talk about basketball, and I
Hmm.
said numerous times, I wanted to be Shaq because
Oh yeah, I forgot about this.
yeah, I wanted to be, I wanted hit because Shaq dominated on the basketball court, and
Yeah.
then Shaq did movies, and then Shaq did albums. And I was like, man, like, yo, man, okay, cool. And I was
Hmm.
like, if you could do that, I said, man, I could probably do that. And I remember my pops had some old Shaq tapes and some old albums. So like,
Wow.
I mean, now like being older, I'm like, well, he may have not been.
Yeah, most people don't call out Shaq as their
Right.
MC influence.
Right. But he was. I think he was probably the first guy who I really saw, who I was like, man, like, okay, cool. He is excelling at
Yeah,
all different types of areas.
multi-talented.
Yeah. So I was like, yo, man, you don't gotta be, I guess, one dimensional. You can kind of
Correct.
be, and then on top of that, man, I think it just grew from that passion and love of music, it just expanding your horizons, and really got into hip hop. Because I grew up around with an eclectic taste of music. My mom was listening to like CCM gospel and maybe some 80s, 90s rock and stuff like that. My dad was kind of like a hip hop type dude. And also my mom listened to like, the Freds and the Donnies and what I mean, all those guys. So I was always around this whatever. And you kind of just, see where that takes you. And God was like, okay, he sprinkled in a little rhyme with that. You know what I mean? And I found out I could rap. Yeah.
It's definitely interesting because now I'm gonna say from this context, what you just explained, I understand your albums sonically.
Yeah.
Sonically because
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that had hit me, because you were in Philly, what emphasis did that put on you with the hip hop? Because just like talking to somebody from New York, they kind of be like, I had no choice.
Yeah.
It was going to be the inevitable. I was going to be an MC.
Yeah.
Where do you find that thread from being from Philly?
I think Philly is just like I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and I was like, man, what people don't really recognize is Philly, high key, low key, is a really, really artistic, creative city.
Gotcha.
It's a melting pot of a bunch of different artists who did a bunch of different things. And I think for me, kind of how hip hop kind of influenced that. I remember like battle rap culture was big here, and especially around the time where 8 Mile came out, 2002.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, okay, I wanted to be B.E.R.I.D.O.X, so then I put my little hood on, put my hat on. You know what I mean? Started battle rapping a little bit, went 3-0. We only had 3 battles. So, but then I really like started really analyzing rhyme. Really just like when I really got a passion for just rapping. You had guys who I always respected, even like Rakim is still a problem to me. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, where the lyrics he would say, and then you had guys like Nas and Jay, whatever. And I think because my music taste was so broad, I just had a sampling of like different different artists who kind of do different things, and God just kind of pulled it here.
Yeah.
And like in tightening, it was like, okay, man, like this is what I gave you. Now use it. I think, because like I said, you had your freeways, your Cassidy's, your, what I mean, those type of Phillies type rap. And but you also had your like, your guys like the Roots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had your Black Thoughts. So like, it was always profound to me to have guys who were like well versed and different. Like I have a spectrum, not just I only listen to this type of rap or this type of whatever. So
you had a sample size, so it was a lot more. So what got you to the point to say, I'm gonna start writing music now, and I'm gonna start performing it, and I'm gonna take it out? How did you get to that crossover? Because everybody don't get there.
Yeah. For me, man, it really was like I love music to the point where I would do it if you didn't pay me for it at all. It's just that great, and I think therapeutic for a lot of people, and it helps heal a lot of people. And to me, it just got to a point where I was doing stuff at church. I was playing instruments at church, and then I started writing songs and stuff at church. And then we started a group called Standard Ovation, which now every time I hear it back, looking back at it now, it's like wow. But we started a group called Standard Ovation, and we just wanted to use the gifts that God gave us, and the uniqueness that God gave us, in a way that will reach our generation and others who identify like us. And I think once that kind of grew and just really like, yo, man, use all of what God gave you and be all that God called you to be. And it really just took off from there. And the more you dive deeper into your relationship with God, and you really start to examine like calling and purpose, and like what are you here for? You know what I mean? I've always made the joke, man. I'm like, yo, if LeBron James worked at McDonald's, you'd be like, what are you doing?
Out of place.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, like, you're just like, okay, man, like, you're probably good at this, but bro, this is not whatever. And music has kind of always been that for me. You know, because I love music before. When I was young, music was 1A, basketball was 1B.
Okay.
And then, you know, they almost were at a tie, but music always had the edge. And then eventually when I realized, okay, music is what, you know, your thing. I was like, okay. And I kind of just let God have his way. I mean, that's the best thing you could do. And God has just, you know, happened to just move in the way that he has. And I'm grateful to even be a vessel or be used for that. So, yeah.
Do you remember the first rhyme you wrote that gave you your confirmation to say, yeah, I'm gonna do this?
you know what? I'm going to hear something that's funny. My mom talks about this all the time.
Mhm.
All the time. Like when I say all the time, she talked about this all the time. And I think I was like 7. I was like 7 years old. And I wrote this song, like I kind of freestyled it actually, called Jesus is the King, right?
Yeah.
And we used to perform at the church, and everybody like loved it. And then, like everybody, Jesus is the King. I said Jesus, like, and I was like 7.
Yeah.
But like even when I got older and she introduced it to the younger kids loved it.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that because you know, music that has a lasting impact, to me, that is kind of like, I guess the term, I don't know if this is a real term or word, transgenerational. You know,
it transfers to generations.
right? You know, like Michael Jackson's music is kind of like that, where you know, So the fact that it was God using me at 7. And then come back when I'm like 14 years later, when I'm 14, like 7 years later.
Okay.
And hear that it's still like able to reach that younger generation, that next generation that was dated. I just remember that feeling at 7 years old, going like, okay, like this rap thing for Jesus, kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, I feel like I'm, you know, I guess I didn't know it at the time, but you feel like, okay, I'm in my right purpose. I'm where God wants me to be at even 7, where you just, you know, just saying Jesus is the King, and you know what I mean, just kind of out there vibing. And I felt like, you know.
So you said Jesus is King on that song?
Yeah, like
so Kanye bit you?
Yeah. Yeah, man. Listen.
He heard it.
Yeah, he heard it somewhere. He's probably driving by. You know, hey, let me see.
He's like, "What's that? What's that?" That's dope. But that's a real thing that you're explaining, because not too many people can understand what I'm about to say. Those who grow up in a church, close to the church, and you have a gift to rap, doesn't always coincide with the structure of what church does.
Right.
So with that imbalance, how did you stay balanced to say, you know, the gift ain't really always called upon, but you do have it, and God is working on you to develop it to the point that you got albums now. You know what I mean? But in the context of things, early stages, mid stages, and probably to present day, like our doors aren't beat down like a rapper would have so many tons of opportunities. And it really requires for you to stay balanced in your gift, not to get haughty, not to get cocky, but to stay sober minded. But at the same time, ask God where, how, what, when, why, what do you want me to do? How do you deal with that?
Right. I think, man, I think it's really just having that tunnel vision. Really just like what I realize is, you know, and one of my favorite scripture, and this is what TSW is based upon, you know, it's Galatians 1:10, where Paul is talking to the church of Galatia, and he says, like, yo, if I live for the approval of people, I wouldn't be a servant of God. And that whole, you know, that one phrase struck a chord with me, because you know, I remember days where I was going to church. I go to church, I dress like this, you know, snapback, you know, hoodie, whatever, and I would walk past the church, and people would see me go in and look shocked. And it's like, man, like, okay, I'm still being all that God has called me to be. I
Yeah.
may not look like, you're generic or what you believe might be, a believer or Christian. Right. But I am, just who God has called me to be. And I think once you realize that, man, I'm gonna be completely who God called me to be. And at the same time, not okay, you don't give me a platform or a lane. Well, God has given me a gift, so now we can create our own platforms.
Yeah.
Where because like sometimes people get in this habit of sitting around waiting for people. Well,
Yeah.
then God gave me the gift, but I'm just gonna wait on it. But God, you got to take that journey. I mean, you got to
Right.
move. You got to move. Joshua didn't just like, okay, well, we're not gonna march around. God gave us He gave us Jericho. No, they had to march around the city.
Yeah.
But I think it's like you had to have that tunnel vision where it's like, okay, if God called me to this and God called me through this, then He'll make sure that I have a way or a lane where I can use whatever I have to reach whoever I want or whoever He wants. And I think also at the same time too, I think is understanding, like I've always said, that what side of God is going to be glorified no matter what.
That's right.
I think people had to identify with themselves or ask themselves, what side of glory do you want to be on? Where do I want to be on the side of glory where I chose to live in the fullness of who God called me to be and my purpose? Or do I want to live on the side where I chose to live for other people?
Wow.
And like, I much rather be on the side where I chose to be in the fullness of purpose of who God called me to be instead of people's opinion. And once you realize that, once you get that, I guess that, so what type of attitude, yeah, I mean, where it's like, I mean, I gotta be who God called me to be. If you don't like it, I can't, I can't, just stay here and coddle you. I gotta be who God called me to be.
That's dope. That's important because there are going to be, and especially for those who will catch this interview or get a chance to hear what you had said, artists who are young who are coming up, and someone will say, you need to do it this way, or you're not accepted over here unless you come like this. That could then try to tamper with the vision that God gave them. You know what I mean? And we learned that from experience, that you even try to change your sound, you try to do something else, and you gravitate right back to where you are. And you're like, wait a second, I tried to rhyme like this when I started that pattern, and I went right back to what God wanted me to do. So
for sure.
that's when you know you're connected. But it's so important that we keep preaching, be who God called you to be. Do what God called you to do. And if you don't know what to do, then you need to sit down and get more information from him. Let him give you more. So you touched on TSW. So explain to the people who is TSW, what is TSW?
Yeah, for sure. So TSW, the letters stand for Team So What. So it's TSW Camp, small indie label collective of a dope, talented artists like myself, my brother Chalice, Pastor Tom Howe, who's now in Florida, Alexis, Grace. Just really looking to build for the kingdom. TSW stands for Team So What, and the camp stands for Creative Arts and Music Production. So that's where the whole
so you got another acronym on the end.
Yeah, so like that's where the camp come from. But also the team, the camp, that's where everybody comes from. And we really just honestly just a group of individuals who are trying to make God-driven art, living God-driven purpose, and really just trying to excel and help others be the best that they could be in their lanes. And I think not necessarily again caring about people's opinions, but more so, okay, if God accepts me, then that's the greatest acceptance I could ever have. That's all I ever did. And people who are just trying to encourage people to do that and inspire to be that themselves. So that's what TSW is. And I said, Galatians 1:10 is where it's kind of derived. Yeah. Yep.
That's dope. So Legend, we talked about TSW. So let's talk about your projects. You have 3 full body albums out. Am I correct?
Yeah,
I have all three of them. I have them all listed there. So
yeah. So you have let's see,
the first one.
the first, yeah, that's the first interview that we had, which
Yeah,
was
we the unbroadcasted interview. So this is a long time coming. So
my
I
God.
know
So
we had a performance in it and stuff,
yeah,
and that was the old days when I was shooting on the DSLR cameras and had to edit everything for an hour and a half.
yeah.
So this little setup right here, bro, this is golden.
So
This is
we're back.
golden.
Yeah. So I had Rebels of Vision 2015.
Mhm.
Um, and then after that, it was a little 4 year gap, but
Okay,
it was also like life was happening between
right.
moving and building a life with my life, building a life with my wife, and then building a team, and then after that there was Invictus, which was 2019,
Okay,
and and then 20 no I'm sorry, Invictus was 2020, and then
2020.
2020 is the year that we choose to forget, so that's why I forgot that it came out in 2019. But it came out 2020, and it had the Embers EP that came out, and then this album, the latest album was Hope.
Okay.
So yeah, so I guess the three full bodies, which God has blessed me with,
Yeah.
which is crazy, how it kind of all came together. Because I really hope was unexpected,
Okay.
honestly. I had to keep 100. Hope was unexpected, and the Embers EP was unexpected.
Okay.
Um,
I don't think I heard that one. That one that you just said, the Emperor's EP.
Yeah, so I can actually tell you how it all happened.
Okay.
So what happened was Invictus came out
Mm-hmm.
the top of 2020. Invictus came out the top of 2020, and 2020 was 2020. So
Okay.
so with that, everybody was just stuck, kind of quarantine and do whatever.
Yeah.
And like I really didn't plan for music to come out. I actually talk about this in a documentary, and I mentioned you in the documentary.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
dope.
so
Shout out.
yeah, in the documentary, I said, I was talking to big bro B.E.R.I.D.O.X, and he said, "Yeah, man, it took you 4 years, it took me 12. No more waiting." Right? I
Yeah.
remember you said that, and I was like, for sure. And my whole thing was in 2020, I was just gonna let God do what He do
Yeah.
with this. But then with 2020 happening, I just saw the lack of hope and inspiration that people had,
Yeah.
and that was necessary. And part of music, like what we talked about earlier, it feeds people and it motivates people. And my thing was like, man, like people, need hope and inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And God was just dropping ideas, because when I write everything in my memory, like on my
Okay.
head. So God was just giving me like full-fledged songs, like full
So they were coming.
and I was like, okay. So at first it was gonna be EP. Hope was gonna be EP,
Okay.
and it was gonna be something short, because I didn't think it was gonna be. I
That
was
much material.
I was letting God do what He do. Yeah, I mean, when it big this, I was just,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was like, okay, 3 songs kind of grew to like 5, and then 5 songs kind of grew to 6,
So
and then all of a sudden, and then it just okay. I was like, okay, God, there's something you have to do. You're doing with this.
Mm-hmm.
And the Embers EP was actually kind of like a prelude to the Hope album. So the Embers EP kind of, it starts off, I would say a little bit cynical, but more so like emotive, where there's like 4 different songs on there. It's the Bloomsday song where you kind of talk about relationships, how they kind of sour, go in and out, but it gets more hopeful towards the end. Then Heat Wave was a song that came out that's talking about everything that was happening with the presidency and George Floyd, stuff like that. And then it was another song on there where Treasure Planet, is talking about where people, I don't know where hope is. I'm just looking for it. I'm just trying to find hope. And then Housefire was the last song on the album, where it's just like, I don't know what's going on, but I just need your help. And that's why when you look at the album, the first song says, "Yeah, I know how you feel."
Yeah.
Yeah, where the hook, where it's like because I think what is missing from art and even just the world in general is that empathy. Jesus had one of his greatest gifts, if not his greatest message, was empathy. He came us to win us. You know what I mean? Which is like, when you really think about it, it has some gravitas to it, where it's just like, wow, and I think with music, sometimes you can write from a standpoint of what you're going through, but you can also write from the standpoint of what other people are feeling, to help them get through their day. So Embers was kind of the setup, and then Hope was kind of the album, and it's 13 songs, and that was all like God inspired, because like I said, it's whole just ideas, do.
Start flowing. That's
Yeah,
how it's supposed to be.
yeah, man. So, I guess 2 albums in 1 year, because it was done the latter part of 2020. So
That's dope.
I was like,
That's
okay,
dope.
yeah, man. So,
You're
God,
being productive, man.
man, yeah, because I've always said, early on, you heard the cliche where 2020 is the year where you get to see. I'm like, yeah, it sounded cliche, but if you actually look at it, the year 2020 in general, I think 2020 gave a lot of perspective of what people had, where their principles lie, what they really valued, and you didn't want to look back at this time where you were not being productive and not doing anything. You weren't growing in your faith, you weren't growing in your word, you weren't growing in your gifting, growing in your business. You wanted, it's like, man, if I'm sitting in the house just eating chips all day, watching Marvel movies, like what am I doing?
Yeah, you ain't being productive. Yeah, you just letting the time get ate up, and you're here for a purpose. Even though the world looked like it shut down, God didn't shut down. So it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
So let's get a little geeky for a minute.
Okay.
So how do you make your music? Do you produce yourself? Do you get outside producers? Do you mix? Do you engineer? Do you some of the geeky things, because a lot of times people don't associate that with going with the artistry. Sometimes we're in that imagination phase where I'm dreaming to get signed and they'll put me in a big studio and this 96 tracks and walls with equipment.
Man,
How do you get your stuff done?
As of late, man, I've been producing myself.
Okay.
So I've been producing myself. I think, that music background that God has given me kind of just like translated into creating beats. For Invictus, 16 out of 19, produced.
That's
and
a
then
lot.
yeah, man. yeah. And then everything else after that, I produced myself. So God has just been moving in that lane, and I'm also open to help. If I hear something that somebody may have, like a producer's beat, and I'm like, yo, man, okay, let's see if I can, whatever. But I've also like had this, this built-in motor. It's like, okay, well, let me see if I could do something, whatever, and God to kind of just give it to me. As far as like mixing and mastering, also been doing that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Just learning. You learn as you go, man.
Go geekier. What are you using?
So I'm in Logic. So
okay.
So doing everything in Logic Pro X. Mastering with that, and then with mastering, sometimes I use like a cloud bounce to see wheels or mostly just like EQing it with Logic and all that other stuff. Logic Pro X is what I've been using.
Yeah, that's my baby now.
Yeah. Because I was learning Pro Tools, and early on I was making I learned how to make beats on FL, and then gravitated to Logic. I was like, man, Logic kind of got a lot of stuff that you could use.
It does. One thing I've just said is in the mindset of things, when you're piecing a song together the same way we piece one song with so many different sounds, never lock yourself off with using multiple programs. So you can go to Logic and do certain things in there. You can go over to Reason, do something things over there, pull your drums from Fruity and smash it all together. And it's like you
Yeah.
know, something creative. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I did learn, because once a couple songs I was using Cakewalk's drummer thing, because
Yeah.
they had live drums in it. So I layered on that, and then I
Yeah.
pulled something from Reason. So
Mm,
you're being the producer. So a lot of times now, with all this technology we got, you can open yourself up to newer sounds.
right.
So
Right.
definitely rock out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you know the sounds. Getting all the sounds is the I guess the hard part. I get sounds that sound interesting where it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like everything else or it be distinct.
Mhm.
Um, but for the most part, you know what I mean. I think you kind of like keep plugging, and you know eventually you'll find something that sonically sounds different or unique to who you are.
Yeah.
And I've discovered that you know what I mean when I guess my producer's journey where God is just
That's
you know
dope.
yeah man just to start making beats and
Mhm.
you know what I mean I had a couple friends like hey man you should start whatever and I was like I don't know. You know what I mean like you know what I mean
It's a
so
lot of time. That's the thing which you're starting to wear, is that multiple hats,
mhm,
that you don't have time for everything. You know what I
mhm,
mean? Because if you're focusing on the drums and focusing on the bass line, that, and then you gotta put the lyrics, then you gotta mix it, then you gotta master it. So
right
it could take you a longer time to do stuff, but in the end, you kind of know that you achieved what was supposed to be done.
right
You know what I mean? Because the control was in your hands. You signed off on it to
right
release it. So
right
you might have felt comfortable enough to release it.
yeah for sure and I just been grateful so
That's dope. So this new song that you're pushing right now, which is called "Never Seen It," what's the story behind it?
yeah man so never seen it is the second track on the album.
Hmm.
Um, and we shot the video Saturday. We shot ourselves.
Okay,
Do that too. So
that's right, bro. Add it in there.
yeah, man. So shot the video Saturday, and never seen it. Really is based off the scripture. I never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed bringing bread.
Okay, that's
And it's
dope.
just like yeah. So it's like, and you really look back at your life, you realize that like God has been in your life the entire time.
Hmm.
Um, Even in moments where you might have felt some hardship, you realize, okay, this was all for a purpose. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Where, let's say something small where it's like, oh, well, I couldn't go to this dinner party because it cost $65, but then you had to use that $65 later to get groceries for, a person who was in need. You know what I mean? Just something small
gotcha.
like that. But it's more so like God he never forsakes his own. He never forgets his own people.
Hmm.
And it's really just based off that I've never seen the righteous forsaken and or his seed breaking bread. And I've always said one of my favorite scriptures is Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11. That whole chapter is really great.
Yeah,
One of my favorites is part 6, where it says, "Without faith, it is impossible to please God. Those who believe in God must believe that He is God, and He
hmm,
rewards those who seek Him diligently." And it's
yeah,
like, oh man, God rewards those who are living a life. Yeah, I mean,
that's right.
where He could be glorified. And it's like, yo, I have to believe that and remember that. Okay, if I'm really a servant of the King, if I really live for Jesus, if I'm really living this purpose out, He won't forget me.
Yeah,
Even in times where I might think it's rough or bad, it's like, okay, all these things work according to my good. God's
mm,
sovereignty is greater than my wisdom. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
my, 28 years of life being here, I can't outthink God. That doesn't make
That's
any
right.
sense.
Nah, not at all. Never will.
Never will at all. So
You can reach 100 and you still can't outthink them. So
sure, for
that's
sure.
the realness.
So it's like he's never forsaken his people. And then you just see how God has been in your life, and how he's been moving in your life on a daily. I've never seen it. No
So
pun intended, but it's like and then also too, man. That is a song right now on Spotify that is doing pretty well.
that's
Um,
good.
yeah, I think it had maybe like somewhere between 9 something streams or something like that. So I was just
You
like,
said, bro, it's better
yeah,
than one. You
well,
somebody's listening to it, bro.
yeah,
Because you got to think about it. How many that's the other thing we don't really think about. How many people are coming out with music? It's so many. So it's like, Lord, you really called me to still do this, you know? And he goes back to, yes, I
Yeah,
haven't told you not to, because
yeah.
there's an audience, like we're saying, that he has to hear that. And I'll add this into you to the equation. How many times you'll go on Netflix and you'll just be scrolling, and Netflix catalog probably got what, 5,000 things in it,
Yeah.
and you'll stumble across something and you just by chance hit the play button, you watch it, good show, it's a
Mhm.
season, and you
Mhm.
watch the next one and it gets better and better.
Yeah.
If you never logged on to hit that button, you wouldn't have found it.
Yep.
If the creator thought that no one will see it because everyone else is doing stuff, so why should I do it?
Mm-hmm.
Is you're really preventing someone else to have some experience. So
Yeah.
even with us spiritually,
Yeah.
it's the same attitude. Like, I gotta do stuff that God called me to do, because I
Sure.
don't know who it's going to help. I don't know who it's going to reach. Even in here in our conversation tonight, we
Mhm.
don't know who's going to be inspired by this and start thinking and say, yo, I should push myself a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I remember early on, where I think this is around the time Rebels Ambition came out, and I performed at a church,
Hmm.
and a guy came up to me after the show. It was like, man, I really appreciate you. He said, I really needed what you said tonight. I
Wow.
really needed it. And that was so profound to me because to me, I'm just like, man, I'm just a kid from North Philly who wants to be a vessel, who's trying to use his gift.
Yeah.
And God to kind of just remind you, like, hey, man, like you're doing this for a purpose. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of times where, I think it's good to have aspirations, but those aspirations can't supersede what God can do in
Mhm.
your life or your ministry, your art, and also at the same time they can't supersede the mission or the goal.
That's right.
Like I could aspire to win a Grammy, but I understand that Grammy doesn't validate me. It doesn't make me any more or less of a person. If I
Yeah.
have the opportunity to win one, I would be thankful and grateful and understand that this is God put me here. I didn't put me here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, hearing messages where people say, "Hey, man, I really needed what you said tonight."
Yeah.
Whereas, man, imagine if I would have declined, or imagine I was like, scared, like, man, I'm not gonna perform. Then
That's right.
people may not have that moment or that where they can feel the presence of God or even hear from God, and me being scared. You know what I mean? I can't do
Yeah.
that. It wouldn't be right, and I'm forsaking the purpose of which God gave me. I can't do that. So,
That's true. And that's the thing where you're keeping your feet on the ground,
mm,
because of the fact that we know hip hop.
mm,
We know how people get swayed and caught up in it. And when success starts knocking at the door, it presents more challenges.
yeah,
And you got to stay focused.
mm-hmm.
So we're going to wrap it up because I know time is precious, on a Friday evening, bro. Um, So you got the song "Never Seen It" out. You got the video out. Is it on YouTube and everything now? You loaded it?
Yeah, the videos up on YouTube. Came out today,
Okay.
115.
All right.
Um,
I'll link it to this video and link it to this post as well.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely want to check it out myself. I saw the clip you were teasing everybody with the 3 to 5 seconds. It's
Nah.
like, that's what we love to do as artists, tease people. You get 3 to 5 seconds of this heat, and all right, let's see what you're going to do with this. And they be like, man, I want to see the whole thing, bro. That's how it is. But it's the realness of it.
For sure,
Um, One thing I just wanted to touch on too, because you are a true artist from the heart and you do it from the heart.
for sure.
How do you stay focused on not going off topic when you're writing a song?
Mm.
Because they're always, again, as an MC, they're creeping your mind to say, show your skill set, dog.
Yeah, yeah,
Show,
yeah.
show you can toss it up and you can go with the best of them. So when the other people hear it, they be like, Christian rap ain't whack, man. That dude's bringing heat. How
Right.
do you suppress that and
Yeah,
stay locked in?
yeah, man. I think a lot of that is really just. again, that television we talked about earlier. And
Yeah.
I think if the song is good, the song is good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's about being true to yourself and being true to what God gave you. If it's a song where God says, all right, go off, like let them know. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I like how God say that. Yo, let them know. Let them know.
Let them know, like, you know what I
Let
mean?
them
It's
know.
a game. But if it's a, you know what I mean, let them know. But if it's a song where it's really you know, important, where you take your time in that pocket to make sure they hear what you say or do
Yeah.
what you do. I think even in the songs where, you know, I guess you going off, you know what I mean? Like you gotta do it with some type of, you know, you gotta bring something with
You
it.
still gotta have control,
Right.
right? It's just like watching Superman. Like he can't just pick somebody up and tear their arm off and be like, "Oh, my bad."
Right. Yeah, I
He's
mean,
like,
if I'm playing, you know, basketball and I'm scoring 50, but we down by 90, it's like, okay, you're not doing anything.
you're not helping.
Yeah, I mean, you're not doing anything.
Personal stats.
Right. You just. But if I'm really in the flow of the game, and you
Yeah.
see a guy like, yo, he's just going off. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he got like that. I think it's more so like that. But like,
Okay.
it's more that guy goes, yo, man, like, let them know what I gave you. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
It
like,
comes out regardless. I understand that and I know that, but sometimes, you know, going into the writing session, and this is probably for those who are more junior, that they feel like I gotta show them, because what if someone only hear this song? And that's a whole nother conversation, because to be honest, I've learned from being an artist, I can't judge nobody by one song.
right,
I cannot, because that was that song.
right.
You got to listen to a full body of work. And unfortunately, nowadays, everything is single driven.
Oh, everything is one song.
So it's like, all right, no wonder everybody's putting everything into one song, because there's no body of work, there's no build up, there's no climax, there's no drama, there's no action, there's no comedy. You know, everything is just
Right.
So it's like,
Real facts. That's all facts. No lie.
yeah. So let people know where they can hit you up and find out more about your ministry, where you're at on the web.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a website, www.legendmusic.com. Legendmusic.com. You can follow me on Instagram at TSW Legend, Twitter at TSW Legend. You can follow TSW Camp at TSW Camp on IG. A lot of dope, talented artists that I had the pleasure of working with and building with and creating with. You know, man, we're everywhere, man. You know what I mean? We try to be everywhere, doing all different things.
Pre-pandemic.
Right. We quarantine everywhere, you know, but
Yeah.
Other than that, man, we got a lot of stuff. We try to do a lot of different stuff for the culture and just really just try to make God-driven art. So it's TSW Camp. And yeah, man, like, you know, hit me up, DM me. You know, and we can build and start a relationship and get something cracking. You never know. So
You never know.
Indeed.
That's dope. So you and I gotta catch up eventually too, because you were supposed to be on the last album, but we didn't make it. You know,
right.
We didn't make it.
Yeah,
But
we gonna get to it.
it's an appointed day and an appointed time.
Listen,
you know,
I told you, man. You said it took me 12 years, it took you 4, no more waiting. So, and God, that's where the album came from. You know what I mean? So
okay. Well, let God continue to inspire, my brother. That's what's up.
Indeed.
So we're going to shout everyone else who came through and checked out my man Legend in the room. Legend, don't go nowhere, because we're getting ready to end the broadcast, but I want to talk to you for a sec. So we thank everybody for tuning in, man, checking out my man Legend. Continue to check out his music and support his ministry. And y'all have a blessed Friday night.
Appreciate it.